Thanks for joining Winter Patriots Farmstead on an early August afternoon here in North Carolina. We're going to conduct a hive inspection on our 2 honeybee hives. We're looking for signs of the queen, making sure that the hives are healthy, that we've got a decent amount of food stores as we are in the middle of a dearth here, that they've got plenty to eat, that there's brood in various stages, and a good healthy bee population. Out of this top deep box, there's one frame here as an example that's got a little bit of honey on each side, but it's fully drawn with wax comb. So this will be good for the bees to use later this fall when there's a fall nectar flow. And if it doesn't end up getting filled up by the end of the year, I'll take that top box off, and the bees will be able to use it next year in the spring whenever they start rebuilding their hives after the winter. Here I'm taking off the third box on this hive. In this case, I'm using a deep in place of a medium, which is what most people use for a honey super. I had some frames already with drawn comb on it, and this hive was getting pretty filled with bees, so they needed some more space earlier this year. Generally, people use medium boxes for honey supers just so they can manage the weight a little easier when those frames get filled with honey. The bottom 2 boxes here are what are called the brood chamber, and this is where we expect to see all the signs of a queen and a healthy colony. The outer frames will be filled with honey, and as you work your way to the inboard frames, you'll see a mixture of honey, pollen, and then all the brood in various stages, from uncapped to capped, as well as bees starting to emerge as the worker bees inside uncap it and the new bees are coming out. This frame is mainly honey, but you'll notice on that back side there's some irregular comb, and that's due to mainly because I didn't put enough wax on that plastic foundation when I put it in. There's 2 different types of foundation that we can talk about in a different video, but essentially the bees need a little bit of a head start on the plastic foundation, so most people will paint a heavy coat of wax over top of it so they got something to start building on. I didn't put enough, so they kind of built an irregular pattern there, and there's some tunnels going in and out of the comb. So we're early August in North Carolina here, pretty hot, and I have not taken out this entrance reducer yet. This hive was a split, and I kept it in there just while the hive was small to make sure that they were able to protect themselves. But now that the hive's doing well, the numbers are up, it's time for this thing to come out, and that'll also help them cool the hive much easier. This was the hive that was the second one out of the split that I made for the spring. So the first hive that you just saw me inspect, I took the old queen, and like I said, with some of the frames of bees and brood, and moved it into the new boxes. This one was left behind with the queen swarm cells that indicated to me that the hive was ready to swarm. So this hive made their new queen, and that happened back in about April time frame. It's August now, and this hive is doing very well. With this queen not being a bred queen from an apiary with known genetics and certain behavior, they are quite a bit more aggressive than that other hive. I've been stung by them a few times this year already. So using a little extra smoke and taking my time on this one, just because they lit my legs up last week whenever I was opening it up. So here's another good example of a deep frame that's just filled with honey. You can tell that it's all capped with white wax. There are no brown caps in there, so there's no brood in this frame at all. So if you're keeping track, we're towards the middle of the hive now. We're probably on the 6th frame from the side that I started on, and you can see those capped brood there. And that's a good indication that the queen's still in there doing her job. I was also looking for uncapped brood in various stages of development. And then you're also looking for signs of freshly laid eggs, which are kind of hard to see as the comb continues to get darker and darker as the bees reuse it. Aside from all the other things that we've already talked about, the other things we're looking for during a hive inspection are any signs of pests or disease that may cause the hive to fail. So we're looking for mites, which are going to be on the backs of the bees themselves and generally don't affect the bees, but they do cause issues with the brood. And we're also looking for signs of wax moths or the small hive beetles. And any of those are going to get in there if the hive is unhealthy for some reason, or if the numbers are not high enough of bees that are able to defend and clean the hive. That could cause the hive to ultimately collapse completely. So as we're going through and checking all the things that I just talked about, we're also looking for signs of those pests as well. And that's it, a hive inspection on our 2 hives. Thanks for joining Winter Patriots Farmstead. Subscribe, like it, share it, check out all of our other social media sites, and keep coming back to see what we're up to.